Constructivism as a Paradigm for Teaching and Students article was actually great to read. It was a great read. It discusses the importance of allowing students to actively be involved in the process of learning. Um, a great strategy that involves student is by asking great questions, like open-ended questions. Make them feel comfortable to ask questions, good questions, to really help them think. Um, my takeaway, as I mentioned, will just be asking open-ended questions to view things from a different perspective and explore different point of views. I think that's important to grow and to make the connection with different responses. Um, Continuing to the article, it displayed a chart that shows the difference between traditional classroom and constructivist classroom. Sorry, I can't say that word right now. I noticed that in order to achieve a successful constructivism classroom, the educator must allow students to work with their peers. Um, it is important to allow students to work with peers and discuss their answers, have them work in small groups. That also not so much discussing, but also negotiate their views. I think that's very important when you allow students to work in small groups, especially if especially if it's a group effort. Um, you know, students have the advantage to learn without being restricted to what the teacher says. So, what I'm trying to get at is like, for example, the students are more welcome to share their viewpoint rather than being intimidated and restricted by the teacher. That possibly could belittle them. So unfortunately, there are teachers like that. So I think it's great to learn how constructivism works and how you can utilize that in the classroom to avoid being one of those teachers. So to clarify what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, there are teachers who think they are know-it-alls and they won't allow students to have a different answer. For example, I'm just throwing off of my head. A teacher can say, well, you know, the sky is blue only. And then another student can say, well, not all the time. The sky can be gray after it rains. And the teacher be like, no, it's always blue. Like, that's what I'm trying to get in my example. Like, the student will have to feel like being belittled. And, with the constructivism, it's more open to feedback and more understanding to see different perspectives rather than saying, okay, yes, teacher, the sky is blue, and making them believe that they can't really share their knowledge or anything. That's what I'm trying to get at. So, hopefully, that's a good example. Um, you know, my greatest takeaway from this article was actually that. Sorry, my baby's in the back. Okay. So, my greatest takeaway actually from this article is that students have the opportunity to reflect. I think that's extremely important. When they work in peers, especially when they're working in small groups, they're able to take turns and kind of share their answers rather than feeling shy or embarrassed to share with the whole class. Like I said, because who knows if the teacher's going to be like, no, that's not correct. Pay attention. Rather than, interesting, keep going. So my biggest takeaway from this whole article was it's a huge opportunity to reflect on all and all perspectives, all different answers, and kind of grow and add on to that. An interesting fact towards the end of the article, it was interesting to see how all the development theories are combined to represent the history and how studies have changed, but yet enhance the original theory. Um, I think that was pretty cool. Just because, sorry, my baby's walking. Just because, you get to see how one theory was discussed, but then you see like another person come in, and then